should be working this weekend, Robin.
But I promised my wife and daughter I'd take them away this weekend.
All hands on deck.
You won't be coming to the cottage.
Well, it can't be helped.
Your life is happening now, right in front of you.
What to do, what to do, what to do.
What to do indeed.
Pooh?
Christopher Robin.
No. Up, Pooh. Here I come. It would appear that I am stuck.
Have you just eaten honey?
I have not just eaten honey. I wonder which way.
I always get to where I'm going by walking away from where I have been.
Do you?
That's the way I do it.
Hello, Eeyore.
Christopher Robin, it's you playing again.
Let's go and see if we can find Piglet.
I've already stayed far too long. Hello, everyone. It's Christopher Robin! So nice to see you all again.
Why, thank you.
Silly old bear. I was wrong about work. I was wrong about everything, and I've got to get back to my family.
Farewell, Christopher Robin. I would have liked it to go on for a while longer. Perhaps it's our turn to save Christopher.
Aloha! This is Trinidad the Island Man, your Island Man, coming to you live once again from beautiful Hawaii here on the island of Oahu, bringing you, yes you, the best movie reviews on the entire island of Oahu. And yes, this is Trinidad the Island Man, your Island Man. And last night, Friday night, I went ahead and saw the new Disney movie, Christopher Robin's. Now, remember our rating scale? Shaka thumbs up. It's good to see. I recommend it. Shaka thumbs down. It's bad to see. It's junk. I don't recommend it. And, well, for this Disney movie, Christopher Robin's, with, of course, Winnie the Pooh, is a shaka thumbs up. Now, this stars Ian McGregor, Haley Atwell, Bronte Carmichael as the little girl, as Ian McGregor or Christopher Robin's daughter in this movie. Haley Atwell is his wife, and Ian McGregor, of course, is Christopher Robin from the Winnie the Pooh stories, and in live action or real life, what the character Christopher Robin's was based on. Along with his friends in 100 Acre Woods, Winnie the Pooh, Piglet, Tigger, Eeyore, all the others, Kanga, all make an appearance in this movie. Now, again, it is a shaka thumbs up. Also this stars Jim Cummings returning as the voice of Winnie the Pooh. So it really does pull on your heartstrings and, brings forth that nostalgia feeling. If you had watched any of the old cartoons with Jim Cummings doing the voice, the old cartoons of Winnie the Pooh and his friends, growing up, or even the Disney classic or the TV show, it was very, very, nice to hear that voice rendered so well. Most of the other characters are the, of the Winnie the Pooh characters are all new voices. Jim Cummings is the only one to return. Let me just say that Ian McGregor does a phenomenal job pretty much carrying this show for most of it, where he interacts with the CGI Winnie the Pooh, more often, I feel, than his own wife, Haley Atwell, or his daughter, Bronte Carmichael. So in his acting performance, he really has the most time to step out and shine. And of course, he certainly does. Now, you could be excited about this movie, saying that this is finally the Disney, Star Wars, Marvel crossover, where we get Ian McGregor, Obi-Wan Kenobi, teaming up with Haley Atwell, Agent Carter herself. But, it is nothing that exciting. What this turns out to be, unfortunately, I can't recommend it for small children. Maybe, higher, younger adolescents, even teenagers, and definitely, older adults will enjoy this movie far more than young children. Don't take them to this movie expecting them to see Winnie the Pooh and his friends go on some crazy adventure, crazy wonderful adventure with Christopher Robin, because it is not that kind of movie. There is a slight adventure at the end of the second act and the third act where Winnie the Pooh, Christopher Robin, and many of the friends from 100 Acre Woods do make an appearance. But it is nothing on the scale that, maybe small children would hope to keep them entertained, like, say, The Muppet Show or anything like that. What we get is, this is definitely geared towards adults with, nostalgia for Winnie the Pooh. The closest resemblance of a movie that I can estimate this to would be Hook, Steven Spielberg's and Robin Williams' early Hook movie, whereas Ian McGregor playing Christopher Robin, all grown up, married with a child, his daughter, stuck in a seemingly dead-end job at the end of World War II. Not much money to go around in the company, and he is forced to make budgetary cuts, which means probably laying off his division, unfortunately, in this company. It is something that he really, really doesn't want to have to do. And of course, struggling as both a husband and a father, he doesn't want to lose his job either. So he's kind of forced to do this, to make these hard choices for his workforce with this company. And we find that he's worked very hard to try to secure his place in this company, working long hours, ignoring his wife and child, very much like, what happens in today's society as well. People here in Hawaii especially know that, working long hours, and then having to deal with a tremendous commute time where maybe the only time you get to see your family for any significant time might be in the car when you're dropping them off to school or picking them up from school, on the way home. And that's if you're lucky. If you're not, then you're stuck in that traffic all alone, and your wife and kids, or husband is at home, hopefully with your kid, giving him dinner, breakfast, etc. You know how it is. You're struggling to make it, often working 6-7 days a week in some places. And so this is where Ian McGregor, as Christopher Robin, finds himself lost completely from his childhood days of relaxation and play with Winnie the Pooh and his friends. And, on the verge of that collapse of his, his employment, on the verge of a collapse of maybe his marriage and his family life, he gets a visit from Winnie the Pooh, which, again, tells him and reminds him of the joy of living, the joy of having fun, the joy of taking time out to enjoy one's life, which is the primary message of this movie. And of course to share that time with those that you feel are important, the ones you care about, your family, in respects to this movie, his wife and his daughter. And so they take that message, he comes to the conclusion that his family is far more important than his job. And thus, thanks to Winnie the Pooh, he goes ahead and he reconnects with his family. And also, in doing so, finds a way to save the workers' jobs that he manages as well. I won't spoil it for you, but it is an interesting and kind of a far-fetched kind of way that it is reached in this, to come up with this kind of example that takes place, the solution, I guess. So it is a little bit of a far-fetched premise for that. But the message and the heart and the feel of it is sound, along with, the tears that you get from a man struggling to hold his family and his place in the world together. And then finally remembering what's more important from what he had learned as a youth. So yes, this movie is a strong shock of thumbs up. It is enjoyable. Again, not for little kids, but I think, older children and especially younger teenagers, along with their family, would enjoy this movie a lot. Definitely older adults, you and your wife, your husband, your wife can go out, see this movie, and kind of think, this is the struggle of even today with all of this. That being said, I did have some problems with the movie, and this stems more than just, Winnie the Pooh and the friends of the 100-acre, woods not being in it enough. This stems from an earlier movie that I had seen during this last summer. I did a review of it called Goodbye, Christopher Robin. And now this movie, Christopher Robin by Disney, is a complete fiction. It is a fictionalized version of Christopher Robin, the real person, and his father, the author of Winnie the Pooh, which based these stories on his child's imagination and his childhood imaginary friends, Winnie the Pooh and such. That being said, Goodbye, Christopher Robin is, I gave it a shock of thumbs up, but it was a much darker, definitely not for children movie, definitely more of an adult. You only get, the makings of, Winnie the Pooh, from the child's imagination and creatively conveyed on the page by his father, in Goodbye, Christopher Robin. And thus he kind of becomes, Christopher Robin, the child, becomes kind of a, celebrity of the day, of the early, mid-19th century, I guess. I'm sorry, mid-20th century. And is kind of loses his childhood because of that in that movie. That was the gist of that movie. And it was pretty powerful and pretty sad, and he had come to actually dislike his, his dealings with anything with Winnie the Pooh, in real life as portrayed in that movie, which I believe is based on, more of a realistic telling of his life. And the life of his father, who created Winnie the Pooh. So I found it difficult to feel good throughout this movie with the message, knowing that what I had seen and knowing how things turned out for this, for Christopher Robin in real life, where he had kind of a difficult childhood, kind of, strayed from his father and mother. And eventually that drove a wedge between him and his imaginary friends. The enjoyment of those stories, which made him famous, which made his father famous, the Winnie the Pooh tales. So that kind of soured me a little bit on this movie. I think I would have enjoyed this movie far more if I hadn't seen that. But in seeing it and seeing the whole picture, you can see how Disney might have taken pieces from that story, pieces of Christopher Robin's real life, being estranged from his father, from his parents, Christopher Robin. They kind of put a little bit of that into his daughter in this movie. You know, and he, you know, whereas Christopher Robin's movie in Goodbye, Christopher Robin, his father was always work with the stories, or with his writing, as he was a playwright before, you know, becoming a novelist with these Winnie the Pooh stories based upon his child's imaginary friends. He wouldn't spend too much time with his son. Here, because of all the work Ian McGregor as Christopher Robin has to do, he doesn't spend so much time with his daughter. So there, you know, so it is interesting to see the give and take between the two movies, how they had materialized these conflicts, you know, these similar conflicts, you know, basically from maybe real life into this fictionalized version, you know, to fit their Disney story, you know, on a little bit of a happier note. You know, you know, and it does attempt to follow his life a little bit, you know, with going to the war, but we don't see how the war had affected him so much. Like in Christopher Robin, Goodbye, Christopher Robin, there's a whole post-traumatic stress syndrome that affects him as an adult, which you don't see in this movie. But you can kind of maybe glimpse here and there where he is with Pooh again and they are lost in the woods. There's maybe a little inkling, but you would never have that preconception, that knowledge of, oh, is this what they're getting at, if you had never seen Goodbye, Christopher Robin. So I definitely recommend this Disney Christopher Robin movie as a shock of thumbs up. You might want to just wait until matinee to see it, or on the you know, discount days, both now Tuesday at Regal for $6 or $7 at Consolidated, now only on Tuesday over there, as they've stopped the rest of the other days, for $7. But definitely go ahead and check it out on Netflix or iTunes when you can. Goodbye, Christopher Robin, and this Disney movie, Christopher Robin. See how the two compare. They're kind of good bookends, you know, and you can do the filler in the middle with maybe, you know, the Disney classical cartoon movie as well for your child. And I think that would be a nice kind of well-rounded you know, trilogy almost to watch. All right, thank you so much. This is Trinidad the Island Man, your Island Man, giving Christopher Robin, the 2018 Disney movie, a shock of thumbs up. Just maybe not, you know, for young kids, and you might want to wait instead of seeing it at full price at night. You know, definitely catch the matinee, or definitely iTunes, Netflix when it comes out. And when you're watching it at home, check out Goodbye, Christopher Robin 2, which had come out just the year prior in 2017, that summer. All right, thank you so much. Again, Trinidad the Island Man, wishing you aloha.